Hi everybody, we are going to talk all about roses today. Yes, I said roses, and yet it is January, it is really cold, and we still have snow on the ground. But now is the perfect time to be ordering your bare root roses, to be thinking about what you're going to plant. Bare root roses sell out really fast, so you want to get a jump on it if there's certain types that you want. So I thought today I want to show you a couple of my favorite roses in the winter, and then I'll also show you images when they were in full bloom. The majority of my roses are David Austin. I have about 7. I'm going to add a few more. I absolutely love them. I'll give you the pros and cons, all the positive experiences, some of the challenges, and we'll go from there. So to get started though, I'll tell you about the one behind me, which is Emily Bronte. So let's get started. So this is the Emily Bronte, and I'm going to tell you about her and give you some of the pros and cons that I've experienced. She is very vase-like, and I've even trimmed her. You can see right here, she was even up to probably 6.5 feet tall. So she's definitely a very big rose. She has not done great in this space because of the shadow of the crabapple tree. So we are going to be pruning her hard in probably March and moving her to a full sun area.
Okay, so let's look at some stats about Emily Bronte. You can see the beautiful color of her blooms. Now, she is suitable for zones 5 through 11, and this says she only gets to about 4 feet. But as you saw with mine, my rose has been stretching a lot taller than that. It could just be the shape, everything's a little different sometimes, but I am in zone 7B, a pretty average climate, and she is very vase-shaped in my area. But it could just be the bare root that I received, but she does have a beautiful blush color and then turns kind of light pink. I would say that she's not super showy in the garden. So this image right here is going to be a late spring flush. I usually can get 2 really good flushes of flowers from her. They are on clusters, so they look like there are a lot more blooms than there probably are. I don't think she's a great cut flower rose versus some of the others that I have in the garden. Now this is her, you'll just see the shrub and the greenery right there with the trellis. I do have to prop her up a little bit. You can see her growing, and this is later in the summer because you can see the hydrangeas have bloomed, but I do not have another flush. Now this is early spring, and again you can see all of the blooms at the top where she's growing and a few of the brighter pink. I would say the first flush is the brightest pink, and then after that they tend to be a lot more of that blush color. But I have enjoyed this rose. She is extremely healthy, and I'm going to move her this spring and we'll see how she does in her new space. I'm sure I'll be reporting out in my spring garden tours. Okay, let's look at 2 more roses in the garden.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite roses. I actually have 2 in this area. So first you can see a few little rose hips. This is an Atlas rose, and it stays pretty compact. I'll show you the pictures in a little bit. I absolutely love this rose, and you're going to see why in a minute. And then this is the Roald Dahl. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, but also one of my absolute favorites. Now, this rose has been as tall as probably about 4.5 to 5 feet. You can see right now some tall branches. It is not as vase shaped, so it does get pretty wild, and it will just grow all over. So it really needs strict pruning to ensure its success. But you can see it's still a beautiful rose and has just done great.
Let's look at some stats about this rose. It was named after the book James and the Giant Peach. It definitely looks like a beautiful, yummy peach. It is suitable for zones 5 through 11, and it says 4 feet tall. I would say that's probably right on target. I don't think mine reaches much more than that. It is a little bit wider than the Emily Bronte, which I think is more vase shaped. I do prune this one pretty hard each year to try to keep it in check. I get rid of all these spindly baby branches. So this is a view of the rose when the first season. This was after I planted it. Now I did purchase a bare root rose. We haven't talked about that, but I love to get a bare root. First of all, it's less expensive. Second, you get it when it's dormant. And so you're able to plant it and then it can grow roots and take off. So I think it's a great option for adding roses to your space. So this is an image in year 2 where I did have to prop the rose up. It just wasn't sturdy enough and was kind of leggy. I pruned it a little bit harder in its 3rd year, and this is what I got. This is one of the 2nd or 3rd flushes, and you can just see it is profuse. I think I got blooms on this from at least April until frost, which was the 1st of November. It just continues to bloom over and over again. Now I do deadhead it, and I also will cut groups of branches or blooms. You can see there they kind of bloom in little clusters, and I love to use them in floral arrangements. Now the petals are pretty soft, and if you cut the blooms too late, they will kind of fall apart. Now this is the At Last rose. You can see the color is a little bit richer, a little more pink. It's definitely a true kind of apricot. Now I have this rose right next to the Roald Dahl, and they make a great dynamic duo pair. This rose is a little more compact. It probably only is 2, maybe 3 feet tall, and it just blooms nonstop. If you've read anything about Proven Winners roses, they are known to be disease resistant, which it is, and to just be incredibly hardy. Now the blooms do fall apart pretty easily. So if you are kind of nervous about a mess or pretty particular, then you may not want to plant this rose near a patio space or somewhere like that. But if that doesn't bother you, the blooms are nonstop, and I just think they're beautiful. I'll go out in the early morning. It's so fragrant, and I'll just snip and deadhead it, and that kind of takes care of that mess that it drops. So I highly recommend both of these roses.
So a 3rd rose I want to show you is the Lady of Shalott. This one is on the corner of our property. You can see our driveway goes down there, and I planted it here just kind of as a focal point. I actually want a second one of these roses. They sell out pretty quickly because they are so favorite. Now, this rose has grown slowly, which has been great. She is a little vase-shaped, very easy to manage, and does provide some beautiful winter structure right here.
So let's look at the stats for this rose. And I have to tell you, if there is any rose you're going to try from David Austin, I would absolutely recommend this one. The bare root is still available. You can get Lady of Shalott from other vendors as well. So look for it at your garden centers. It is zones 4 through 11, so it is very cold tolerant. Again, it says height of about 5 feet, which I would agree. Now, it says mixed borders. It does say some shade. I would say a little shade isn't going to hurt this one. My rose probably gets a little bit, but you can see just how incredibly beautiful the color is. This rose also, I typically get at least 3 good flush blooms where it will bloom one round and then it'll kind of start over. Now, these are great for cut flowers. I love, as you can see in this vase, these blooms when they're little or when they're large. It just makes an incredible rose. They smell wonderful. It's really a delight. Now, this is an image from the Proven Winner site because for some reason, I haven't taken a lot of pictures of my rose as an actual rose. I think this is gorgeous in this terracotta pot, and I may imitate this year.
The last rose I want to show you is my climbing rose, and I have a story on this guy. And if you look right here, let me get over, you can see how crazy large she has gotten. Now, this rose was transplanted this year. I moved it from another space, and I'll talk to you about that more when we're on the computer. But this rose is going to be a heavy viner. I've got to get in here in the spring and tack it up, get it trained to go across this area and up over the rooftop. This is our original 1880s, 1890s summer kitchen, and I just thought she would be beautiful going across this kind of blank slate.
So when I first got this rose a couple years ago, I planted it up at my trellis. I'll show you a picture. But it did not like that spot. It got black spot so bad. It did not bloom very profusely. It just wasn't growing. It barely got up a couple feet on the trellis. And I just decided it just wasn't working. The black spot alone was driving me crazy. So this was actually a bloom from the year it was on that trellis. But I went ahead and I moved it last spring. And as you saw from the first image, it took off. I actually got more blooms and it has grown and grown and grown. I also have not dealt with any of the black spot that I had in the other location. Now, the spot where it is, the roots are shaded. I don't know if that's made a difference. And again, I had just transplanted it, so we'll see this year. But I think if you're looking for a nice white rambler, this one could be a good option. I have several other roses in the garden that I look forward to sharing with you this spring and summer. I do highly recommend bare root roses from any vendor, but just know that in the first year, they're really going to sleep. They're going to grow their roots, grow their branches. You will get a couple blooms, but year 2, they really start to take off. And by year 3, you are going to have blooms after blooms after blooms. I think roses are an investment for your garden, a staple piece, and I don't think you should be afraid of them, especially these Old English type varieties that grow more like shrub roses. They don't require but being fertilized a couple times a year and very little other maintenance. I love their disease resistance and just ease of use in the garden. Thank you so much for watching. Please take a minute to click subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.